And could you share more about what Archangel Raphael is saying is happening on the planet right now when it comes to these strong energies?
Well, they're coinciding with Three Eye Atlas that most people in the spiritual community have heard about. And in the spring, during the equinox, Raphael often sends me on journeys around the world. And I was in Mexico and I was working at the time on this, what's called the Choice Point Light Code. And I have these 55 light codes that I downloaded, and Raphael asked me to go through all of them. And it'll take me, I don't know, about 10 years. I have about 5 years left to finish them. And at that time, it was the end of the spring equinox, which many people talk about being the time of the end of the Kali Yuga and the end of a cycle and the beginning of a new. And at that time, Raphael said that we would move into a gestation period from March 21st of the spring equinox to December 21st when we come to the winter solstice. And that during that time, we would start to receive energies that would be coming from the galactic core that were ancient and old and wise, that would be delivering and bringing to us frequencies that would deeply support us in waking up and in remembering who we are. So I didn't really understand exactly what that meant. And then Three Eye Atlas came on to the scene in the summertime. And then when we started to understand more about it, we realized that it will come closest to the Earth just a couple days before that, on December 19th, right before the winter solstice. And so I channeled Three Eye Atlas, which I've never done anything like that before. And when the energy came in, it said it was this delivery system of love, and that it was deliberate, it was on purpose, it was on time, it had a reason for being, and that as it continued to pass, let's say as it passed through Mars, it was supporting us and bringing more peace to the planet, which coincidentally is when there was a ceasefire in the Middle East, right at that exact moment of the passing by Mars on a pass through Venus. And now it went to the sun, right, where it has perihelium. And we've had tons of flares that have happened in the last few days, which Raphael said would happen as it came there, and that we'd be receiving light that would be coming in. And I think a lot of us are feeling this energy arriving. We're not sure what it is or what to do with it. And then as it continues to come closer to us and it arrives right near us on December 19th, Raphael has been talking, and now we understand that it's in relationship to Three Eye Atlas, this birthing process of a new consciousness emerging with our own real divine self, like a deep awakening to our oneness, to our soul, like a remembering of our soul at the deepest level. But in order for us to remember, in order for that to happen, we have to come back into union with ourselves. And in order for us to do that, it is what they're showing me is that we need to move into these very deeply feminine aspects. Not that we, of course, need the masculine, right? And we have to merge the Christ consciousness frequency with the divine feminine vibration. And they have to come into union within ourselves, not outside of ourselves, so that we can awaken to our own remembering. So that's kind of an overview of what's happening. And so a lot of people are sensing that something is up and they can feel it, and they're not always necessarily sure how to label it. And so that's what I'm receiving right now.
Fascinating. Back to the Three Eye Atlas for those who are a bit new to it and starting to get curious. So it has to do with love and an activation. It's a help. Is it help from the galactics, our extraterrestrial family, our star family? Do you think is it extraterrestrial consciousness?
It feels that way. So I ended up, I was talking to Heather Ensworth and I was channeling, and Three Eye Atlas came through, and it was asked, like, are you an extraterrestrial? And it's like, well, I'm not anything to be afraid of. I'm not a green man in a suit in a spaceship, but I am alive, and that I have consciousness, I have a vibration, and I have a purpose. And it's not arbitrary, and that it has been designed for a long time, and it is coming from the galactic center. It is galactic, it is ancient, it is wise, it is old, and it is being guided by something. What that is exactly, I don't know. But what's happening and the way it's operating as it lines up with the different planets and the moons at different times and the solstice, and it is it would be absolutely extraordinary for it not to be synchronistically divinely perfect. Like it's operating in a way that is so divine and so beautiful and magical. And so, what exactly is it? I don't know that we know how to define it, other than it feels incredibly loving and supportive.
Well, that's good news.
Yeah, and intentional.
Yes. And then we have these important dates. Could you speak to that? Because I've always been curious about why are dates significant? Because in one way we could think about that time does not exist. Yet we have December 21st, December 4th. So could you share your perspective on these dates and what's a big deal about them?
Yeah, that's a good point. So time doesn't exist, right? There is no time and space, and we're trying to get rid of time, aren't we? But when we collectively begin to align with the stars and the sun and the moon, and we realize that there is a configuration or an alignment that we are in relationship to, and we remember our relationship to it, and that we're not separate from it, but that when we begin to become aware of it again, especially collectively as a mass, as a group, we have the power through that collective awareness and choice to attune to the magnetic field and the frequencies that it's carrying and the love that it's holding, to make changes. So although we have free will, if we can utilize that free will in alignment with divine will, in alignment with the way that it is lining up to the benefit of the collective, it is so incredibly powerful. And I feel, in ancient times, we have all these temples all around the world, right, that are lined up to the winter solstice, the summer solstice, the equinoxes, for a reason, because the veil is thinner. We're more connected to the stars. We're more in alignment. We're able to remember our essence and our soul. There's a purpose to it. But then when you take that alignment, and many, many people, just as they gathered back in ancient times to drum and chant and sing and celebrate and dance and connect with the star beings, but there's so many of us now. And when we come together collectively in a community with a shared purpose of coming into union or radiating a wave of love or opening our hearts to our own divinity, and we can align it with those dates that are very powerful, that are aligned with the cosmos, then I think that it gives it so much more potency and it builds upon itself. And so when we remember about those ancient teachings and we connect with them, it's really powerful.
And you mentioned the 4th, December 4th, and then December 12th. Could you share a little bit about those days, in what way they are significant and what they represent? And also, a lot of questions here, what we could do to prepare or what we could actually do on those dates?
Okay, so many things happening. So this will probably be, released a little bit later, but tomorrow is 11/11. And from 11/11 to the 21st, which is the winter solstice, there's 40 days. And Raphael has asked us all to choose something, one thing, any little thing, and gave me a list of some options for us to do for the next 40 days between now and the winter solstice. So if somebody happens to listen to this the day before, they can do it for one day. If they listen to this 3 days before, they can do it for three. But to really, in order to potentize the energy, we need to be able to open our energetic field to connect to source, to our soul, to our remembering. And there's different ways, especially more feminine ways, that are being asked of us right now to connect. So in the next however many days, that from anyone listening to this that feels called, Raphael has been inviting us to either, really meditate longer and shut down the mind, move into silence where we speak less and we just listen, just place our hand on our heart and say, I love you, with your name after it. I mean, that just like, I love you with your name is so powerful, just a few times a day. It's incredibly powerful and simple. Emptying our stomach and fasting so we feel a more direct connection to source and we can hear that voice even stronger. The other one was to have a rose for the divine feminine, and either keep a rose alive by keep getting one as they're starting to die off for that many days, or giving one as a gift to someone. Washing our feet and blessing them, getting outside and grounding on the earth, different things for through the different chakras that we can do that are feminine, that open up those spaces so that when the energy that's coming from Three Eye Atlas comes in, we have the spaciousness, the emptiness, the darkness, the void vibration that we need to receive. Because if we're so full with distraction and busyness and hurrying and looking for the next thing to get to the next place, we're not going to be able to receive the energies. So that's one thing that we can do. And then you asked about the date. So December 4th is a full moon. And so that's going to be like a jumping off point. That is also when I'm going to be connecting collectively with all those who are going to come together at that time. We're going to spend 3 weeks on this journey along with Three Eye Atlas. And when we hit 1212, that has always been a powerful portal date, but it's also 1212 is the 144 frequency, 12 times 12. And that is Christ consciousness. And we'll also be in the month of December. Christ consciousness is so powerful, right? So beautiful, but it's being asked to be married, to come into union with this divine feminine energy that's been deeply missing. And what they call that is the mother source grid. It's the mother creational energy, and it comes in many different forms. And when we begin to marry, which they call almost like in the bridal chamber, the union of Christ consciousness and the divine feminine, we come into union with ourself, with our divine masculine, with our divine feminine, and we begin to remember in full balance who we are. And after that, then we're going to open up to receiving these three gifts in the third eye, in the pineal gland, in the heart, and in the womb. And these eyes are going to open up to receive connection to telepathic communication, to opening our heart for healing, and to creational energy. And then on the 19th of December, Three Eye Atlas will be coming in, and as Raphael said, bringing a delivery system of energy and information and codes, and we'll be receiving them and activating those gifts. And then the winter solstice arrives on the 21st, and it's this collective birthing of our divine avatar self as we step over the threshold at the end of the year, which is the 2025, which is the year of completion, the year of 9, into the year of 1 in 2026, the new beginnings. And so it's a culmination of everything from this whole year coming, in a sense, to a climax with alongside Three Eye Atlas to birth a new consciousness. But it's done in a way that we receive it not in the doing, but in the being. In addition to that, a date that I forgot to mention, which is December 8th, that in a religious way, and I'm not religious at all, I'm not speaking in that way, but it's called the Immaculate Conception, is a time of what we would also call the light conception. And during that time, we'll be doing a powerful activation to receive that light within ourselves. So we're not giving birth to something other than the remembering of our own soul, our own essence. So it's really intense.
To watch the full video, click the link below, and I would love it if you would subscribe to my channel.